Alright, I'm Tyler, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about genetically modified foods, or GMOs, and hopefully convince you guys that the benefits of genetically modifying crops outweigh the risks of using genetic modification techniques. So just to give you guys some background as far as what GMO foods are. GMO is a term that usually refers to crops grown using biology techniques to move genes from one organism to another organism. For instance, you can take a gene from a bacteria called Bacillus thuringiensis and put that gene into corn and allow it to naturally grow a toxin that's poisonous to insects but isn't poisonous to humans. These sort of techniques were traditionally done through breeding in the past couple of centuries, but that's time-consuming and inefficient. And it can have unintended consequences, like selecting for genes that you weren't intentionally selecting for. This is a lot more direct, and you can do it from organism to organism rather than selecting for genes within one species. And just to give you guys an idea of what is specifically the kind of food we're talking about, 40 plant varieties have been approved for commercialization by the USDA. This includes tomatoes, cantaloupes, soybeans, beets, corn, and cotton. But a lot of the food that you're going to see on a produce aisle isn't genetically modified. This is because most GM ingredients are used in processing for other products. Like this is big in soybeans because 54% of soybeans are genetically modified, and they're mixed in with with non-genetically modified products to make foods like soy milk, protein supplements, tofu, tempeh, vegetable oil, anything with MSG or natural flavors. Chances are that when you're eating that, you're eating something that's genetically modified. All those stats are from the USDA website. So, there are 3 ways that genetically modified crops are useful. They're easier for farmers to grow, they're healthier for humans, and they're better for the environment than regularly grown crops. So my first point is that they're easier to grow. This comes from, you can take genes from other plants and put them into the crops you want to grow so that they will be more resistant to pests or herbicides, which means that you can use less of these poisonous products in growing the crops. This reduces the potential health hazards of the herbicide use. There's going to be less on the product in case some of it doesn't wash off when you process it. It also lowers the cost of growing the product for each individual farmer, since they don't have to use as much. You can also have genetically modify them so that they can grow in unsuitable habitats, like where it's too cold or too dry, which allows plants to grow in places like Africa or India that need more crops where they usually can't grow. Some of the concerns about these easy-to-grow products is that patents on these technologies mean that rich companies could grow plants much faster than small farmers, but there are laws that are currently going into place that will slow or stop these companies from patenting their products and allow small farmers to get access to them as well. My second premise is that they're more nutritious for humans. First of all, you can add nutrition to a product. For instance, the Rockefeller charity, along with the government, sponsored a product where you can grow golden strains of rice with vitamin A, which reduces blindness in third world countries. You can also put vaccines into tomatoes and potatoes that will give you a resistance to a disease by eating it. That was also sponsored by the Rockefeller charity. There's also the point of phytoremediation, which is you can grow a plant that's not a crop and use it to help clean up the environment. For instance, you can use genetically modified poplars to clean up heavy metals like lead and chromium from groundwater. And in that way you can clean up the environment just by growing plants. There are some hazards in that these GM products could become resistant pests could become resistant to GM products, and this could be solved by creating a buffer zone of non-genetically modified plants that would, where pests and weeds could live and not become resistant to genetically modified products. In that way, they wouldn't be affected by the genetically modified resistant crops. I hope I've convinced you guys that genetically modified products are better than non-genetically modified products.
All right, Tyler, you start off with a clear statement of the proposition, but it's not until 2 minutes and 24 seconds into the presentation that you get to a preview of what the supporting points are going to be. So almost halfway through the speech is when we finally get the structure. There's a lot of background information. I think you need to edit that, get it down to something that's very economical and get done in 20 or 30 seconds so that you can get to your argument. When you get to the supporting points, you signpost the first point pretty clearly. Your analysis is explained. The problem is that the proof is really non-existent. There's all this theory about how this is supposed to reduce dependence on herbicides or pesticides, how it might affect water issues or protect the land, those sorts of things. But that's all very speculative. We don't have any examples of doing that. And you don't even cite people who are experts who are saying this. You're just telling us what people believe about this. So it's at best an indirect claim. It's not really proof of that particular claim. There needs to be some sourcing on that. The patent issue is raised briefly. I think that's an attempt to address a potential rebuttal argument. And the same sort of thing, you kind of give this hypothetical answer about how that might be addressed. But it's, again, I don't have any data that says countries are doing those kinds of laws to protect people from that situation. I think you might want to have a stronger argument here by attacking the likelihood of that even occurring or happening, especially since it's likely that the farmers who are using these products are going to be maybe concentrated in a particular space. The likelihood of other problems occurring there is thin. Or that there aren't any examples or cases where this has happened to begin with. Instead of making the speculative answer, tell us why that's a speculative argument and what's wrong with that speculative argument. On the other posts about potential benefits, I thought that the best part of the argument that you had were the examples that you cited, the golden rice, for instance. That sounds like it's an actual example, although we don't get any data that supports the fact that it reduced blindness in the third world. And then we're back to the hypotheticals on vaccines in tomatoes and other plants. And again, I think that there's a little bit of sourcing there, but it seems like it's very passive instead of giving us an active advocate of these points who has some authority and is willing to stand by that quote. It just seems like it's kind of a, like I said before, a passive answer on that point. You do a good job speaking to us, but like I said, I think you need to be more consistent in citing proof for your argument.